morning, tēnā koutou katoa. Today I am joining you from Sunrise Saltwater Country, land of the Gadigal people. And I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we're all joining today. I reflect on their deep connection to land, water and culture, and I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people joining us today. Now, welcome to our new member event, and it's wonderful to see that we've got one or two existing members online as well, and thank you for joining us to hear about all the things that are on offer when you join the Infrastructure Sustainability Council community. On behalf of the board and the team, congratulations on joining the ISC. You're in good company. Our membership reflects the diversity of the infrastructure sector. You're joining over 200 other organisations that are the most engaged and committed to ensuring that social, cultural, environmental and economic benefits are delivered through infrastructure. There is much to gain and also much to contribute as a member of the ISC. And today, the team are going to take you through the many different ways that you can maximise your membership. What you put in is what you get out. Everything that we do here at the ISC is underpinned by our 5-year strategic plan. And that takes us to 2025, halfway to a really big, important deadline, 2030. This plan was co-created with industry by the ISC team, and every year we track our progress against the plan. We regularly monitor it with our board, and we provide updates to you, our members, at our annual AGM. Now, that's occurring in November later this year, and I do hope that you could join us either virtually or in person. As we move from a decade of determination into a decade of action and a decade of decarbonisation, I really want to encourage all of you to actively engage with our team and with one another. There are so many ways that you can get involved, and we're here to help. So no matter where you start, what's most important is that you've already taken the leap to lead. We're all on this path together, but like any journey, you'll each experience it differently. You're here for different reasons, and you'll each move at a different pace. So no matter what your story is, always do what is right for you and aligned with your organisation's values. When you encounter speed bumps or roadblocks, my team is here to help. Just reach out. In thinking about why you're all here, it's really about change. Some organisations change because they are leaders, challenging the norms and are early adopters. Others because in today's era of accelerated delivery, it's expected. And then there are those that are simply being pulled with the tide. If you've joined this call, thank you for being here. You are in one of those first two waves. And there are three main drivers why your organisation would be here and showing up today. The first is compliance. The second is competitive edge. And the third is commitment. Now, you can determine where you are on that journey if I describe some of the characteristics as you move along that maturity model. So when you're at the beginning of your journey, a primary motivation is usually compliance. This is the start of your adventure, and sustainability has got many parallels with safety. Our maturity model is one of them. So when you're in compliance mode, you typically have one person in your organisation that is responsible for you, for your organisation to tick all the boxes. That's how it's perceived. Your organisation may train one person as an IS accredited professional. You'll attend some of our events and connect with others that are like-minded peers outside of your organisation. Your management team knows that this is important and they're making sure that you've got time. but it is reacting. And right now, it may not be a high order priority. You might also be at the cusp when more and more people in your organization are becoming aware of sustainability and recognize a more proactive approach is necessary. You begin to help rising awareness and capability in your organization. You start building your bench strength. You'll have an obligation to enhance sustainability capability across your organization and through our sector. And it really starts with all the teams in your organization. So your training will extend to slightly wider disciplines than just the sustainability practitioner. It will include sales, procurement, engineering, and some of the allied professions in your organization will also start to become a lot more interested in what you're doing. There's going to be more engagement and a sense of both personal and professional pride. You're going to start becoming more involved in our working groups. Your products and services will be listed on our iSupply directory and in the materials calculator. And your team are going to start to begin feeling a little bit more comfortable about sharing emails and links and news items and case studies and IC thought leadership. Increasingly, your colleagues are going to start asking you for help and also making suggestions. There's no such thing as a free lunch. But importantly, it's understood that sustainability is starting to become a very core component of your competitive edge. Now, you might be a little further progressed than that, and you'll know when you're at the commitment stage, when your organization is widely engaged with the ISE from top through all of the tiers and teams. Personally, you've developed a sense of agency across your network and in your organization. You'll have a culture of continuous improvement, and you'll be helping others along the journey too. You'll be doing this by sharing your thought leadership. You'll be proudly sponsoring and presenting at our events. You, your peers, and some of your leaders will have joined our RISE mentoring program. Your work is going to be showcased in our annual impact report, and you'll be engaged in our advocacy coalitions, driving the next chart, or charting the next path forward. All of these things are aimed at advancing policy, standard, specifications, and our practice. And we do this through white papers or high-level engagement with government and industry. Increasingly, when you're in commitment stage, your executives are going to be invited and attend roundtables and start to reciprocate by inviting the ISC to brief your SLTs, your boards, on the targeted action and uptake that you're experiencing. We'll share with you industry trends, and you'll be invited to speak on panels and nominate for our ISC board. Your early career professionals are going to be participating in pop-up opportunities, initiatives that we might have. They'll be joining some of webinars and events. But most importantly, you will start to feel and see a change in your organization. Sustainability will become your culture, and you will be known for the positive impact that you are creating. So no matter where you've chosen to start, and it doesn't matter where you are on the journey, our team is here to help. So we thank you for your commitment, and you're warmly welcomed into a community of collaboration that is here to create positive change. We're all really looking forward to actively engaging with you and to help your organization measurably demonstrate your leadership, your progress, and your commitment to a positive future for people, planet, and the economy.
Well, good morning or good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today in our new member webinar for the Infrastructure Sustainability Council. Thank you to Ainsley for providing that video and that warm welcome and that acknowledgement of country. And I'd like to acknowledge the country from all the areas of Australia and New Zealand that you're joining us from and their traditional owners, past and present. Today in our agenda, we have a very full program. We're going to try and cover a lot of ground in our 1 hour together. We'll begin by looking at membership opportunities and what the membership value proposition looks like for the Infrastructure Sustainability Council. We'll be covering our learning and development programs. We'll be providing an overview of IS ratings and looking at the reach of IS ratings as they expand. We'll be covering the technical and working groups, looking at iSupply, the directory, and the online marketplace that provides. We'll be covering our advocacy work and then finishing up with a look at what 2023 looks like in terms of our upcoming engagement opportunities, events, and evaluation. Next slide, please. So my name is Andrea Macris. I'm the Industry Engagement Manager for the Infrastructure Sustainability Council, and my primary role is to engage with you, our members or future members. A big warm welcome to our new members to begin with. So this group of organisations has joined since July last year. We have a nice range across the value chain here that's joined up, and they join a very active and engaged membership community of over 200 organisations, which you will be able to see on the next 2 slides, covering contractors, delivery agencies, government policy and regulation, consultants, suppliers, even not-for-profit organisations, small to medium enterprises as well. So the value chain really does engage horizontally across all tiers and also all sizes of organisations and all aspects of the infrastructure sector that is committed to delivering sustainability outcomes. I'll just get you to go to the next slide. So we'll begin with, sorry, one back. Thank you. We'll begin with taking a little bit of a deep dive into membership, and this will touch on some of the areas that will be covered in more depth by some of my colleagues during this webinar today. So I'd like to start with looking at how membership supports the community and the networking and engagement opportunities for infrastructure in Australia and New Zealand. As an ISC member, you join a large and dedicated community of sustainability champions, and the way that we keep that connection going is through our many events, webinars like this, regular newsletters, social media. We're very active on LinkedIn, of course, thought leadership pieces, and of course our annual impact report, which really aggregates all of the achievements across all the rated projects and all of our member organisations. There are some fantastic case studies in there, and it is a very valuable reference tool used by the sector in terms of innovations and all the work that's being done. There are many opportunities to network, to expand your business development reach, and to collaborate and contribute to those conversations in a really meaningful and impactful way. On the other side of the screen there, you'll see our knowledge and capability building offering. So this is about supporting sustainability as the leadership capability of our time. Learning and development opportunities help you to retain your staff, to motivate them, and to upskill, of course, and build that bench strength, which every sector, and infrastructure is certainly not immune, is struggling with at the moment. There are skills shortages, staff shortages, and in this way, by building up your existing team and attracting team members through our learning and development programs, you're able to address that great challenge. Next slide, please. You'll all be familiar with, of course, the IS rating scheme, which is our major offering to the market, but increasingly we are taking a very active advocacy and influence role. So this is an opportunity for our member representatives with a particular passion or expertise in certain areas to come together and form working groups around key themes that impact on sustainability, themes like circular economy, social inclusion, modern slavery. There are opportunities there for you to come forward and to join those working groups and to be part of those thought leadership activities. As I mentioned earlier, iSupply, and I will go into this in a little bit more detail later, is an online marketplace, and iSupply and advertising or promoting services and products that contribute to sustainability outcomes is a complementary feature of membership. So a standard package of membership offers 1 iSupply listing, and Value Plus offers 5. So that's a direct opportunity to promote and raise awareness of the ways that you can contribute to a rated project through the iSupply platform. Preferential pricing and access. Membership does offer access to many of our engagement opportunities throughout the year. Of course, IS ratings, there are member rates for that program and all of the tools that are part of that scheme. Learning and development, there are very substantial discounts that go along with membership for all of those training opportunities. Conferences, forums, symposiums, all of those events have preferential pricing for our member organisations. And then the opportunity to join those technical working groups, be part of that continual improvement process that drives the benchmarks forward, and the policy and advocacy coalitions. Those areas of access are opened up to you as a member organisation. And finally, but probably most importantly, what membership offers to our organisations in the community is to signal to market your leadership position. Ainsley touched on this in her opening address, and inherently being part of the ISC and being aligned with the ISC really does put you in that position, profiling wise, to showcase your project outcomes, and provides that powerful signal that you are very much committed to sustainability as a core business driver for your organisation. So before we get going into the other parts and components of our webinar, we're just going to open out to the forum here with a quick poll. I'd love to hear from you in terms of what areas of the IS Council you have engaged with to date. If you could just in the chat there, let us know what areas you've touched on with us, be it ratings or conferences, what it is that you've engaged with us on. And then I'd love to ask you again towards the end, another related question, but it'd be good for us to be able to get that overview right from the outset. So take a minute to do that as we go to the next slide. And at this point, it's my great pleasure to hand you over to my colleague, Hayley Greaves, the Head of Learning and Development, to give you a really great overview of the Learning and Development arm of the Infrastructure Sustainability Council. Thank you, Hayley.
Thank you, Andrea, and welcome everybody. As Andrea mentioned, Head of Learning and Development at ISC, and today I'm going to take you through some member trends that we've seen in the past and more recently in terms of what our members are doing or committing to in capability building. And then I'm going to take you through what our offerings include, touch on some of the names of the courses, and finally, before I hand over to Owen, who will take you through the ratings, I'm going to touch on some other ways you can get involved in building capability and the initiatives that we have on. So with this slide here, what I'm showing is some of the member trends on how our members have previously engaged with our learnings and how they are more and more taking a more embedded approach to building capability throughout the organisation. So on the first side there, we have offerings like IS Foundations, which is a small introduction course, some of our free webinars, and then through the deep technical part of the T is the ISAP course, which accredits and upskills individuals in applying the IS rating. That's what we used to see, but in the past 2 to 3 years, we are more and more coming across our members who are dedicated in building bench strength throughout their organisation, be that through using IS Foundations as part of onboarding so that everyone in the organisation has an understanding of sustainability, through to including managers workshops for the middle management, and things like leadership and culture training to empower those individuals that might not yet be engaged with sustainability, but do have the attributes or work in adjacent positions, and they have significant contributions to make in your organisation. Next slide, please. Thank you. And some of the trainings that we offer are down the right-hand side there, some of the names of the courses. All of our courses are built around learner experience and have the aim to create business impact. And the points below there are just some descriptors of our courses. So you can engage with some of our capability building formally or informally. So we have 2-day courses with accreditations at the end of it, and we have webinars that are free to attend. We offer public regularly scheduled courses. For example, our rating skills courses are held monthly and available to all. And we have other courses that are privately held, things like the managers workshops and the executive workshops. And the reason we do that is so you can have those positive and confidential conversations, and the courses can be tailored to your organisation. That leads us on to the third dot point there. Individuals can engage with our courses publicly, or organisations can engage with our courses. And it doesn't have to be a private course. It could be that you have a number of individuals that you'd like to take through the IS ratings, in which case we can organise an in-house offering for that training. Our trainings are developed by industry, for industry, by industry, which means that we go out to industry and get contributions from our trainers and our verifiers, as well as project managers within ISC. All of our trainers are specialist trainers, so they are our trainers in the traditional sense, but they have exposure to IS ratings, and so they are bringing experience with them. And then finally, we have bespoke offerings in which we can tailor it to your needs. This final slide here, in terms of how you might get involved if you don't take on some of that training I've just touched on, is we do offer customized training and packages. So feel free to get in touch with us around that. Mentoring is something Ainsley mentioned early on. There's a QR code on your screen now if you'd like to scan that. Applications for the 2023 cohort are about to open in a few weeks' time. So please feel free to fill in that expressions of interest, and we will contact you when the applications open. And finally, we've got a Capability Academy, which is something we are developing with some of our technical working groups in terms of creating a framework for sustainability professionals to be able to identify their skills and professional development opportunities. Just a reminder here as well, if you do have any questions, the chat is open. Please put them in the chat, and at the end of the session, we'll do a quick question and answer session. I'm going to pass over to Owen now, who's going to take us through the ratings overview.
Thanks, Hayley, and good morning and afternoon to everyone. I'm coming to you from Turrbal country in Queensland. My name is Owen Buckley, and I'm the General Manager for Ratings and Delivery within the Infrastructure Sustainability Council. The ratings team are the people within the Infrastructure Sustainability Council that will be working with you if you come on board as a ratings partner to help you deliver your sustainability outcomes and to be certified against our rating scheme. So if we just jump to the next slide, the infrastructure sustainability, one of the key assets of our organisation is a rating scheme. The rating scheme is used to certify or to substantiate and certify sustainability outcomes that occur across a quadruple bottom line. So within the rating scheme, we measure what matters and we look at governance, environmental, social and economic outcomes. And within that, and specifically for version 2.1, the next iteration of our tool, we have 16 different categories that address 42 credits. Within those 42 credits, we have benchmarks that we have aligned to beyond best practice, if you like, so that we can ensure that sustainability outcomes are delivered within major infrastructure projects and that we're achieving those outcomes. If you jump to the next slide, please. Within the rating scheme, we look at the whole of life for an infrastructure asset. We start our journey with organisations that are looking at planning for what type of infrastructure they actually need to address a community or economic need. We go through the planning process and deliver a planning rating, or we work with you to deliver a planning rating. That then moves into the design phase at the point where design is relevant to the project, and then followed on by the as-built rating. Finally, we look at, in terms of whole of life consideration, what sustainability outcomes can be delivered at the operations component of a rating once the project has been completed and the asset has been delivered. We have a 4-step process. First, a project will register with the ISC to become a ratings partner, and we kick off that process by holding meetings with you to explain how it works, and we give you all of the tools that you need to be able to deliver the rating. We have an assessment phase where you collect and collate information and assess how you're delivering against the individual credits within the categories. And then we move through to verification, where you provide that information, and we pass that on to third-party independent verifiers that assure those ratings, assure those outcomes against our credits. Finally, and when you've done all of that hard work, we have an opportunity to celebrate the hard work and the outcomes that you've achieved through certification. And we hold certification events, and we very much advertise and celebrate the outcomes that have been achieved through certification. Next slide, please. The IS rating scheme, in a recent report produced by the World Wildlife Fund and the Guggenheim Association, found that we were one of the most, if not the most, rigorous assessment process for assuring sustainability outcomes. On that table, the bottom left-hand corner is the area that has third-party assessment or verification, where it's independently verified, and it also is the most comprehensive tool that's in existence currently globally. That provides a degree of assurance and accountability when people deploy our tool to measure those outcomes, and to ensure that that there's no greenwashing involved through that process. Can we jump to the next slide, please? So in terms of rating scheme traction, the ISC deploys the rating scheme across Australia and New Zealand. Currently, we have 231 active registrations for a capital expenditure of $250.6 billion. And I'll talk a little bit about this in a second as well, but most governments in Australia, and including the New Zealand government as well, use our tool or mandate the use of our tool against major infrastructure projects to assure those outcomes that, as the clients for infrastructure or as asset owners, that as they go through tendering and producing those assets, they are delivered in a sustainable way, or that there's sustainable outcomes. If we go to the next slide, I'll come back to traction and mandating and talk a little bit more about that. But a relevant consideration for taking up a rating is that a recent determination in 2020, which found that by investing in sustainability outcomes and investing in a rating drives a return on investment of at least $1.60 or as high as $2.40 for every dollar spent. And that's a conservative estimate, as it states there, because it doesn't include some of the less tangible or non-economic benefits that can be derived from sustainability outcomes when delivering IS rating. Jump to the next slide. As I mentioned in the slide previously, we work with governments around the country and in New Zealand to assure sustainability outcomes. And because the extent to which we have a comprehensive and rigorous process, governments mandate the use of our tool at varying different levels or for sizes of projects. Because we work from planning through to operations, we are looking at the whole asset life cycle, but mandates apply to different components of that. We also have, for smaller projects, an IS Essentials tool for under $100 million that is currently in pilot phase and will be rolled out shortly. And can we jump to the next slide, please? Just very quickly, there's the next two, so this slide and the next slide are just some of the recent projects that have registered with us to deliver a rating. We still have a version 1.2 tool that is available for use, but we're starting to transition over to version 2.1. So you'll see a combination of design 1.2 and 2.1 here, and IS Essentials, which I've just mentioned, for smaller projects under $100 million. And finally, some recent projects that have been certified. Leading rating is the highest certification that we provide for schools 75 to 100. And there's a number of projects there that have delivered fantastic sustainability outcomes, and as a consequence have been recognised and certified at the leading rating. Having said that, because we do everything beyond best practice, beyond compliance, delivering a leading, excellent, or a commended rating means that fantastic sustainability outcomes have been delivered across all of those projects. That's it from me. I'm going to hand over to Monique to talk about expanding the reach of IS ratings. Thank you.
Thanks, Owen, and a warm welcome from me too. Yeah, my name is Monique Isenheim, and I'm head of market development at the ISC. And really, when we talk about market development, what we mean is expanding the reach of the scheme in order to expand the impact, which Owen has talked about. So we're going to the next slide. We're doing that in collaboration with our members and stakeholders. And here are 4 initiatives that I would just like to point out where we're doing this. So IS Essentials, again, Owen has touched on it, is an IS ratings tool that we're developing for projects specifically under $100 million in CapEx. And that's coming directly as a response of what we've been hearing from the market, that there's a need for a tool that is very accessible for smaller projects. And that's currently in the pilot phase. And I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. The second, back please. Thank you. Yes. The second area that we're looking at is ESG and sustainable finance, and really understanding how IS ratings can help investors build sustainable real asset portfolios. And also from the perspective of our members and proponents, how the IS rating can help to get access to preferential funding, such as sustainability-linked loans or green bonds. And we've got a few examples of that. And we really hope to see that grow in the future. We're also looking at water specifically, and that's very much linked to IS Essentials as well, because they tend to be a bit smaller in terms of CapEx. And we formed a water advisory group specifically to look at the value of the IS ratings for the water sector and how we can make sure that it really fits requirements, and how we can make sure that water assets are built in a sustainable way. And then finally, there's lots of things happening in the energy sector, as you would be aware, and we really are looking to understand how we can help energy investments and asset owners, especially to make sure that energy, even if it's renewable, that these assets are built in a sustainable way. And then going to the next slide. That's a bit of an overview of the IS Essentials pilot. We're still accepting pilot projects for that, so reach out if you're interested. Really, the pilot is a really great mix right now of different CapEx ranges and asset types, which is exactly what we want to see, and it's really exciting. And really, we're testing our draft technical manual. We're developing tools and training modules. And what we want to do is really get a good feedback process on the tool, help you to get involved in developing the tool, and make sure that it really fits for purpose. And so we're in the process of that, but we can sign on new projects for at least this quarter and the next. So please reach out if you're interested in that. And with that, I'm handing over to Tara Monberg, who's our technical manager.
Thank you very much, Monique, and welcome everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Ty Monberg, and I'm the technical manager within the ISC. Next slide, please. Thank you. As you can see from this slide, the technical team is led by Dr. Kerry Griffiths, and she's the technical director. We also have Abe, who's a senior technical advisor. Gabby is a technical officer, and Noel is a sustainability data analyst. It's very important to note that the IS project managers and ratings team all play a very important part in technical projects, as a percentage of their time is spent on this work. Now that I've introduced the team, I can talk you through some of the things that we are working on. Thank you. So continuous improvement. Continuous improvement is a very important part of the ISC and specifically for the technical team. We are continually looking to improve the rating tools and systems. As you can see from that learning and analytics loop, the process involves queries and feedback from a multitude of parties. So projects, project teams, working groups, stakeholders, that feedback and queries all come through to the technical team where it's analyzed. And we often go to others out for further stakeholder consultation, including subject matter experts before solutions or updates to the tools can be undertaken. Next slide, please. So this is a snapshot of our current technical work plan. We've got lots going on, and this slide just details some of the items to give you a sense. You can see on the left-hand side that we've broken it down into focus areas, and then on the right-hand side, there are some examples which I'll talk you through. So the first focus area is rating tools. An example of that is the ICE Essentials. So I think Monique has done a very good job of talking through that. Suffice to say that we now have a draft technical manual out, and that's being tested with pilot projects. So that's an example of rating tool. The next focus is support tools. And as the name suggests, these items are items that support the function of the rating tools. A really good example of this is the IS Digital Materials Calculator. So we as ISC have a materials calculator, which looks at improvements in embodied carbon. And this calculator is being digitalized to be more user-friendly and reach a wider market. The third area of focus is data analytics and management. And examples of this include a number of external data analysis projects that we are currently working on. Technical governance is the fourth area of focus, and technical working groups is a really good example for this one. I've got a next slide on that, so I'll get to that in a second. The last area of focus on this slide is the general technical support and management, and that includes things like technical investigations, TCs, and rulings. Thank you. So as I said in the previous slide, technical working groups, TWGs, are a really good example of technical governance, as these groups are made up of members of the industry that guide and support the development of the IS tools. There are 6 groups as detailed in the slide, and these are now well established and hard at work on specific work plan items. Each group is intended to have circa 10 members, made up of different stakeholder groups, so proponents, contractors, consultants, to bring different perspectives to these groups. And we believe this intent has been met, as each group is really at full capacity with long waiting lists of other interested members. I'm now going to hand back to Andrea to talk to about iSupply, but just a reminder to please add your questions to the chat function. Thank you.
Thanks, Tyrell. Very happy to take over here and talk about our iSupply platform. So if we just go to the next slide, please. iSupply is essentially an online marketplace that anybody can access. The general public can go to the IS Council website at any time and look at the directory of services and products on offer there through our member organisations. The idea behind it is that this marketplace supports IS ratings and rated projects by being able to demonstrate sustainability outcomes and provide those services that can help those rated projects achieve their goals through their rated project. So the Standard package as a member provides one complimentary listing, which can be linked to up to 10 credit areas, and the Value Plus package offers 5 listings, which can be again linked to specific credit areas within the scheme, so that you can make very clear the ways that you can contribute and provide value to those rated projects and help them to achieve the scores that they're looking for. Next slide, please. This is a very quick snapshot, just a screen grab of what it looks like, but I do encourage you to go onto the website and have a look at the directory yourself. So people accessing iSupply can search by product or service type. They can search by location, by rating type, and again by really drilling down into that finer granular detail of looking at specific credit areas that your product or service can support them with. Next slide. Oh, thank you for that little animation. That was fantastic. So the golden rules of iSupply, if you are considering becoming a member or are a member and are looking to get your listings up, the best way to get impact through this platform is to, of course, link specifically to the credit areas that you are sure that you can contribute to. List and acknowledge the projects where you have already made a contribution. If there are rated projects that are happening and your product or service has been used, by all means mention those. Focus on what's going to be most valuable to those undertaking the rated project or delivering the project, and the decision makers. Think about the language that you use and what will appeal to them the most. Keep your copy short and sharp, of course. Stick to the facts with no explicit guarantees. Of course, nobody can make a guarantee in terms of what will be ultimately verified, but of course you can very clearly articulate where you can provide value. So that QR code there will take you to the beginning process of starting an iSupply listing, but by all means reach out to the team if you are stuck at any point. And we'd be very, very happy to guide you through the process of joining the directory. I will at this point, hand over to Carolyn Gibbs, who is a Partnerships Manager as part of the Advocacy team, to talk you through this part of our organisation.
Thanks, Andrea. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. As Andrea mentioned, my name is Carolyn Gibbs, and I'm the Partnership Manager for our Advocacy function. I will give you a brief overview of advocacy and highlight 2 of the ways that you can get involved in the advocacy with some of our working groups and our thought leadership pieces. Next slide, please. So advocacy really looks at how we can accelerate sustainable outcomes more broadly across our sector. We work alongside the IS rating scheme, but look at how we can implement sustainable outcomes across the whole sector rather than at a project by project level. So we really look at how we can transform the industry and how we can deliver market transformation. We look at this through 4 key areas, which really builds on our vision, and they are on the screen in front of you now. We look at how we can deliver outcomes in planet, people, prosperity, and industry. Next slide, please. So 2 of the ways that we do that, and this is the first, this is our thought leadership piece. So we work with industry bodies or member organisations or a combination of both to really deep dive into some of those key issues facing the sector at the moment. Through that research, we look at the issue, look at sort of some of the case studies that are happening in the industry at the moment, and provide frameworks and policies of how we can drive change in those areas. Most of the thought leadership pieces end up with some recommendations, and then we sort of look at how we can expand that out and deliver sort of key action items and deliverables across the industry. If you'd like to get involved, there's a link on the website, or you can reach out to one of the advocacy teams directly. Next slide, please. The other area that we collaborate with our industry is through our member coalitions. So these are groups of individuals, so bring together the best and the brightest minds, mostly members from our industry, to address key issues that are facing the industry at the moment. The issues that we have recently identified look at our industry transformation, our climate action, our resilience, inclusion, and circular economy, while our modern slavery coalition has been up and running for 3 years. So like I said, a coalition, it brings together those best and brightest minds from across the industry. looking at how we can address the issue. So firstly, there's a stage of really understanding what those issues are and how they're impacting the infrastructure industry specifically across both Australia and New Zealand. We then look at some of the challenges or the opportunities where they can deliver change. And then as a coalition, as a group, they come up with a set of key deliverables or action items that are both practical and realistic for the industry in terms of delivering them. So we bring together a range of members. So there's contractors, consultants, design agencies, as well as proponents. So we have that really cross-industry snapshot of where the opportunities lie. Diving into those coalitions, the three new ones that we have just launched, and they are very much in their early days, is climate action. And that's really looking at a place-based approach to net zero, how we can accelerate climate action outcomes, looking at in the unique opportunities for each region. That might be a region, a city, or a town across Australia and New Zealand, and looking at how we can sort of test and trial some of those deliverables or those action outcomes. Resilience, keyword at the moment, very, very topical, really looking at how we can accelerate systemic resilience. So not just building back into infrastructure after a natural disaster or an event occurs, but how we can really allow infrastructure to enable those thriving lifestyles and ensuring that our communities thrive both now and into the future. The third one being circular economy and looking more broadly than just materials and how materials impact the circular economy for the infrastructure industry, but how we can build circular models and economies into all of our organisations and our industries. Like I said, the Modern Slavery Coalition has been up and running for 3 years. It was born out of the Modern Slavery Act being delivered in Australia and the infrastructure reporting requirements. And it has really progressed beyond that into looking at how we can eradicate modern slavery across our supply chain. The other two that you see on your screen, inclusion and industry transformation, are a work in progress, and we're looking at really looking at the issue more broadly and how we can focus that into the infrastructure industry. Over to the next slide, please. So I've sort of touched on this briefly, but what do coalitions do? So sort of during that first stage, and like I said, those three new ones are very much in the first initial stages. It's really understanding the issue and developing and scoping out what that multi-year plan will look like. The coalitions then move into that implementation stage. So looking at what key activities, and they're listed there below, some of that, the opportunities that could potentially be coming out of a coalition around your knowledge development, industry engagement, impact delivery, and supporting implementation. Once the coalition has developed their work plan and looked at realistic ways they can make a change, they move into the progression of that work plan, which is then able to be scaled and measured across the industry. All of these coalitions are a member opportunity, so we'd love to have as many members that are on this call or more broadly across the industry reach out for more information or to sign up either to myself, or you'll see on the screen there's a couple of links to go directly to the advocacy page to get some more information. I'll hand back to Andrea. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. So this is the second poll that I promised we'd deliver earlier in the piece. Just a bit of a follow-up. Thank you for any contributions earlier, letting us know what you've engaged with us on in the past. I'd love to now know what sort of piqued your interest going forward. I'm about to cover some, go into more depth about some upcoming engagement opportunities, but based on what you've heard, if there's specific areas that you think you'd be looking at diving into, by all means, share them in the chat there. Okay, so before we conclude our webinar today, I wanted to give you an overview of what's coming up in 2023. If we go to the next slide, there are 3 opportunities for yourselves to actively reach out to us to help you amplify your messages with. So our marketing team are absolutely dedicated to engaging with our members and sharing your content and your stories. there are three sections here that you're looking at. The first is member insights. This is about any piece, thought leadership or some other research work that you have done in your specific fields that you think would be relevant and interesting to the sector at large. Please, by all means, share it with us, and we will look to replicate that on our website and amplify it through our social channels and through our e-news. The middle section there covers impact and innovation, and this particularly pertains to our iSuppliers, or suppliers in general. If you have a product or service that is really driving impact, is something quite new and newsworthy, either in a local market or globally or nationally, share the news. Let's help you get that message out there. Share it with us, and we will certainly keep communicating it and driving those messages out to a wider audience. And that third piece is about leadership, which is all important in our sector. So you may have a senior leader that's driving change, that's really bringing people with them on a positive journey, or there could be an emerging leader that is really doing some outstanding work that you would like to highlight. And again, that's a really valuable retention piece to kind of call out any people that are gaining wins in your organisation. Share us the piece, the content, share with us the content about that leader in your organisation, and we will amplify it for you as well. So next slide, please. Don't be scared by this. We're a little bit scared by it, but we're also very energised and excited by it. This is not everything, but this is a very high-level snapshot of all the things that we're up to this year, aside from, of course, our rated projects and all the other pieces that you've heard about today. We have a dedicated events and marketing team delivering info sessions online and in person, networking sessions, certification events, luncheons, and so on. So for example, the luncheons that the coalitions that Carolyn mentioned, will have luncheon events associated with those, where there's a panel of expert speakers and opportunities to engage with experts in that field or people that are particularly committed in that field. Three I'd like to highlight specifically that are of great interest to, I think, all of our members. The first is the Western Australian Symposium happening on the 4th of April in Perth. That is an opportunity for all of our member organisations and stakeholders in the Western Australian region to explore issues that are really pertinent to that region. It's a one-day event targeting senior sustainability practitioners and ISAPs and key government organisations from the infrastructure sector in the West. There is the Connect conference in New Zealand that is coming up on the 2nd and 3rd of May, another excellent conference event. It gets bigger and better every year. There'll be the ISAP Day, and ISAP, for those that are not familiar, is Infrastructure Sustainability Accredited Professional. So it's more of a ratings and technical day on the first day, and then a day of conferencing on the second day, with many opportunities to engage, sponsor, exhibit, and really take an active role and profile your organisation in that market. And that's happening in Auckland. And then the third one that I'd call out at this point is definitely a work in progress, but will happen sometime in late September. And it is our annual Connect conference that will be in Melbourne this year. Last year it was on the Sunshine Coast. The engagement and the attendance was incredible. The feedback has been exceptional, and we're really looking forward to delivering that conference event later in the year. So please do make sure that you stay in touch with us. Yes, please do go to the next slide. And let us know which of those opportunities have piqued your interest and where we can collaborate with you. If you are not already a new member, you can think about becoming a member by going to that QR code and looking at what that looks like for your organization, but by all means, reach out if you have any questions at all about the process. We probably won't have time to answer all the questions that are in the chat today, but we will answer them directly after this session. So rather than taking up, we wanted to finish on the hour, so that's what we intend to do, but we will absolutely be answering all of your questions. And if you have thought of any others along the journey through our 1 hour session together, info@iscouncil.org, reach out to us and we'll come back to you with a tailored answer. Upon completing our webinar today, there will be a little quick survey that we would really appreciate you answering and responding to. That really does help us to make these sessions the most valuable that they can be for you. That's part of our overall evaluation process. We have an annual member survey that happens every year that I wanted to mention earlier, where we do a very thorough check-in with you on what is most important to you and what can give you most value as a member. But we will check in with you throughout the year as well on occasions like this to make sure that we stay connected. Again, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you've found the overview provided by my colleagues of value today. We certainly appreciate so many people. We've had a record attendance for this session. We certainly appreciate your time and we can't wait to connect with you again. So thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day.